been 2 days ago. Not really 2 days ago.
We've done that plenty of times.
We have.
It's not that big of a thing. Is it?
I don't know. It depends, really. Last weekend, you had the weekend off, and we didn't get a chance to spend any time together. I felt like you were missing me a little bit.
What gives you that idea?
I don't know. You were like, oh, I thought we could hang out today. And I was like, no, we can't. I'm doing stuff. I'm busy doing stuff.
Well, typically you would have been able to hang out.
That's true.
But it was just because you had all the extracurriculars going on. And, I have 0 extracurriculars except what goes on here.
That's right. We recorded a after party yesterday, and that should be coming out sometime this week, or maybe you're listening to this later, and it's already out. I don't know. But what was your take on that after party episode that we did?
I don't remember a thing from it.
I don't really remember either. They're kind of a blur.
I remember judging people for smoking cigarettes. I remember making fun of my friend for thinking that water is only as healthy as water is. For more context, you have to listen to the episode, and that's about all I remember.
You got a text message.
That's a hell of a teaser, by the way.
You got a text message before we went on air from an unknown number, and it ended up being somebody that you knew.
Yeah, I just hadn't put it in my phone yet.
How do you feel about text messages from random people? How do you deal with that?
So every time I get a new phone, I see it as an opportunity to sort of cleanse my palate
of people in your life.
Yeah, like you know how some people get in those moods where, well, maybe not you, but you might have gotten in moods on MySpace or whatever where you just decide, oh, I'm going to remove a bunch of friends. Nowadays, it's kind of different because if you want, you can just unfollow people on Facebook to get them out of your feed, but you can still be friends with them. But back in the day, there were cleansing moments with your friends groups or whatever. So every time I get a new phone, I see it as an opportunity. Hey, let's get rid of all these contacts, and if they need me, if they are someone in my life that is important or significant or consistent, they will text me and I will grab their number at that moment.
Right.
So for the most part, I've gotten most numbers in my phone that I need.
Yeah.
But yeah, every now and then someone pops up and I have to say, new phone, who dis? I don't care. I think some people are probably sitting there like, oh, do you think he deleted me from his phone? It's like, I don't care.
Yeah, I'm curious to how other people deal with that.
I just say, sorry, I don't have your number in my phone, and I don't care.
When the shoe is on the other foot.
I'm not lying.
When the shoe is on the other foot and you text somebody and they respond with that, how do you take it? How do you feel?
I don't really care.
I don't either. Yeah.
It's just not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Because
I figure people get new phones.
It's just,
fine.
I know, it's a very valid story. Whether you get new thrones. I've got
new
thrones. New thrones. New thrones on my mind.
You almost said thrones.
Yeah. People get new phones. People break their phones. I mean, it happens all the time. I have great luck keeping up my phones.
As do I. I've only had one bad instance with a phone, and it was because remember when the Steve Jobs book came out after he had passed away? That really thick book about him. Okay. This book came out about him, and he talked about in the book how he never meant for the iPhone to have a case on it. He hated people having cases on it because it messed with his vision, his design of the phone. And I thought to myself, yeah, absolutely. No more cases on the phone.
You bought into that?
I did.
Man, hearing you say that right here, right now, it sounds so ridiculous.
Not only did I buy into it, but ever since then, I've noticed, like, there's a shit ton of people who walk around without cases on their phone. And I'm actually kind of jealous. Yeah, I'm actually kind of jealous because I love taking the case off my iPhone. It just feels better in the hand. But the day that I took it off, I remember I got out of my car and it fucking fell on the ground.
Really?
And it shattered the screen. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. But other than that, I've never had an issue. I'm not one of these people, like I know people that just constantly walk around with broken screens.
I have a Galaxy S7 Edge. So it's got the curved front screen here. It's actually a very slippery phone.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually do prefer to have the case on it.
Right.
I have a case similar to yours, actually. I think it's the same brand.
Mine's an in case.
I have to take it off because I can't get the aux cord in my phone with the case on. So I have to take it off when I'm driving. So very often it's without its case.
Right.
And sometimes I leave it in my car like right now. So, I mean, if I'm out in public, I want the case on my phone, but if I'm just around the house, I don't care to have the case off.
I don't know. I don't think your phone has this issue, but the protruding camera on the back of the iPhones, when I have the case off and it doesn't sit flush, I hate it. Oh my God, it drives me crazy.
Yeah, that's not a thing. I mean, it's barely out.
Right.
You can barely tell.
Here, I'm going to take, this is not great for podcasting, but I'm going to take, just set it on the table.
This is horrible radio.
Set it on the table.
Why does that bother you?
I don't know.
You can barely tell.
It drives me crazy.
Can't even tell.
It drives me crazy.
This is horrible radio.
Anyways, so
I'm just making you self-conscious.
we hung out. We hung out yesterday, and you left. I had some shit to do. What did you do after you left the house, Sight and Sound Studios, yesterday?
I don't remember. Oh, I picked up some B-dubs and I watched Thrones.
Oh, yeah?
I picked up some B-dubs.
You watched
and
The Throne?
I watched Battle of the Bastards.
You watched The Throne.
Are we gonna do that all night
R.I.P.
or all season or
R.I.P. Watch The Throne, no longer on Spotify.
all the
What the fuck? Are
all
you
the great
fucking kidding me?
all the great Game of Thrones puns are taken now by podcasts.
Oh, 100%. I thought
They're all done.
Yeah, I'm not even going to bother trying to name our Game of Thrones podcast.
Yeah.
I almost called it Sport of Cheers.
If we separated our feeds and created, quote unquote, a Game of Thrones podcast, I would just call it Game of Thrones podcast.
Yeah.
It's just exactly what it is.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
But yeah, they're all taken.
Hey man, we're getting into the game late. Like real late.
Oh, I know.
But you know what?
Well,
it's going to be fucking awesome. In fact, people listening to this right now, if you didn't know, we did a Game of Thrones podcast. It's out. It should be on our feed, hopefully, unless a wolf attacks me or something like that.
a dire wolf.
Speaking of dire wolves, ready to get into my night last night?
Okay.
So we're hanging out, you and I, and in the middle of us hanging out, I get a text message from Kayla, and she says, "Hey, would you like to go to a field show?" And I'm like, "What is that?" I have no idea what you're talking about. I know what a field party is. I know what a show is. But a field show, I'm assuming it's a combination of the two. Turns out it's in the town that I live in. It wasn't in a town over, and which is bizarre to me. Like, it's super random for an event like this to happen in my town.
Jay's hometown doing big things.
Your take on just getting that text message, and I think I turned around and I told you what she was asking me to do.
It sounded like the shittiest thing I had ever heard in my life.
Right.
Because when you factor in the fact that it's in your hometown, that means
I didn't know that at the time. But when I told you, I didn't know that at the time.
You did, because you said that there might be people that you went to high school with.
That's right. Okay.
And that's why I think it sounded like the worst thing in the world to go do. And I was even more so surprised that Kayla didn't already know or didn't already guess that that's how you might feel about it too. Because excuse me, and I might be wrong, I assume that you felt the same way, at least similarly. And I'm shocked that she even felt the need to ask you that question.
Right. Here's what led me to agree to go. A few things. One, it was in my town, so it wasn't going to be like super far away. It wasn't going to be a big deal. Also, it was going to be this sort of alien environment, like where you don't know anybody. She also wasn't going to know that many people as well. Just being, here in the town that I live in. And so I was a little bit more receptive to it. It was all good. So she gets home. Her best friend comes as well. She comes over to the house, and we're sort of hanging out, getting ready to go to this thing. And I say, "Hey, where is it?" And she tells me the address. I have no idea where it is. So I Google map it. And keep in mind, I don't live in a big town. I don't live in a big county. I Google it, and the map tells me that it's 23 minutes away from where I live.
Ew.
23 minutes away.
Ew.
In it, like you might as that's like driving. That's like driving to Lexington, the neighboring town over.
It's actually longer.
Yeah, exactly, and it's in this town. So I'm looking at the map, and the map is just, I mean, it couldn't have been any more ridiculous roads. Like, I'm talking country roads, curved, and all this shit. So,
I cannot wait to hear the connection between this and Direwolves.
So I am already like, all right, I have no idea. So I tell them, I'm like, you need to realize we're going down by the river. We're going into the woods in the deep, deep country on some crazy ass roads. I already have night blindness. I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast before. I can't see shit at night. I can't see anything. I bought my car. The windows are tinted. I mean, you can't see anything inside, and I can't see at night anyways.
If it's raining at night, forget about it.
Fuck you.
Forget about it.
Hell no. Hell no. That's not happening. So anyways, I'm also starving. I haven't eaten anything. So I said, can we get some food? Yes, absolutely. We need to get food. So I'm like, okay, where do you guys want to go? You know, I'm anticipating fast food. And they say, let's go to Waffle House. And keep in mind.
This one over here?
Yeah. Keep in mind, it's 11:45 at night. And I'm like, you want to go sit down at Waffle House? Like, and they're like, yeah, let's just sit down.
We've done that before. Why were you shocked at that?
Because it's 11:45, and then we're going to eat, which is going to take 30 minutes or so, maybe.
And then going to the show?
And then go to the show. And then drive 20 minutes. And then take another 20 minutes back.
And then meet up with the Direwolves.
Exactly. So we eat, we embark on this, and at one point, I just pull out the, like, I'm going to be real card, and I just tell her, I say, look, I don't want to fucking go to this. I don't want to do this. This sounds terrible.
She should have known that.
I said, this sounds terrible. I said, I will let you play the card of, if you really, really, really want me to go with you, I will go with you. And she pulled that card. So I said, okay, that's cool. I said, that's fine. You know
Why
what?
did she want to go so damn bad?
That's cool. Because she felt bad that she had told her friend that she was going to go.
Okay.
And so I said, okay. So we all get in this car and we start driving. I'm playing some nice R&B music, you know, some nighttime mood music, as it were. And we're driving. And dude, these roads became worse and worse. At one point, I said out loud, I said, what is this? A fucking go-kart track? Because, I mean, it was terrible, dude. There was fog on the road. It even got worse. At one point, we were driving through trees like we were going to fucking Hogwarts, and a bat swooped down in front of my car, and I slammed on the brakes and lost my shit. Pull up to finally get there.
That sounds badass.
Finally get there, and I'm thinking to myself, there is no one.
Please tell me that this is a metal show.
Just hang on. Just hang on.
Just
let me get to the meat of the story. I'm thinking to myself, no one would go to this. We pull up at 1 o'clock in the morning to this place.
God, that sucks.
And I get out of my car, and there is just an abundance of people. There are tents out everywhere.
Did you think that there were going to be a lot of people? Like the drive there, you're thinking, it's almost 1 o'clock. We're going to be getting there late.
Yes. And just for the sheer distance, like I said, we were in the deep woods. And there wasn't a ton of people. There's probably about 30 people there. And there were tents and people were hammered. There was a fire. There was a fence line that had animal skulls attached to it. So at one point, I'm looking around and I see the biggest fucking dog I've ever seen in my life. And I said, holy shit, look at that fucking thing. And then somebody out of nowhere descends from the darkness and says, oh, that's a half dog, half wolf. And I said, well, of course it is. It's huge. It's massive.
Yeah.
At one point, it was climbing like these rocks. It was the most bizarre thing I'd ever seen in my life. Yes, you are right. It was a metal show.
Yes.
So
there's wolves and bats.
A 2-man doom metal band decided to take the stage, which was just just absurd, just ridiculous. But they had a good time, and that's cool. That's all I could.
How long did you stay?
I stayed for probably 40 minutes. But my favorite moment of this, I did see people that I knew, but my favorite moment was when somebody
sorry to hear that.
Came up to me and said, "Are you Jaye Williams?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Well, how are you?" I said, "I'm doing just fine." And he said, "Man, I haven't seen you in forever." And I said, "I'm going to have to be honest with you. I have no idea who you are. I have no clue." And he said, "Oh, well, I'm such and such's brother." Okay, well, that's cool.
And you knew the such and such and
I did know his brother.
Wow, why can't I do that?
And he said,
such and such.
He said, "Well, we grew up together." I said, "Well, I have no fucking idea who you are." And you know, I've been through a lot. CTE, age. It was not a good time for me. But yes, my head was on a swivel for bats. We ended up leaving and coming home. It was just the most absurd thing that could have ever happened to me.
Man, I'm so happy I didn't do that.
What would it have taken for? Why won't you experience things like this?
Because that sounds terrible.
But just
how is that any better? I mean, I would have loved to have seen The Wolf. I've got to admit, but that's about it.
Just for the sheer like absurdity of it.
I don't know. I would have felt like it would have reminded me of David Lynch, and I would have been pissed.
It was very much like that. There were people drinking moonshine. There were people smoking weed just
hell yeah
in the like middle of nowhere.
I like that a lot.
What would David? What's his name? What's that guy's name?
Larry David.
What would Larry David say about an event like this?
So you you just decorate the fence with the skulls there, huh?
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Do you kill the animals for that kind of decoration?
What a shit show. Here, look, I took a picture of the fence with the skulls on.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
I mean,
that's so weird.
This looks like like it's in a fucking horror movie.
Yeah, it does.
I might even post this.
What is that, like Rant with the sex toys and Rant?
Yeah, I might even post this to our Facebook group.
It's a Chuck Palahniuk book.
Last thing I want to get from you. What would Eric say about something like this?
Well, it's hard enough to get me to go to a doom metal concert alone, but then you add the woods and this wolf. What is this wolf doing here? Yeah, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, how absurd would it have been if I would have texted Eric and said, "Hey, do you want to come to this doom metal concert in Kentucky?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I haven't been to a concert in forever. Can't remember the last concert we went to."
He got so mad at that.
Well, Snelling, what did he say?
I don't remember. Are you talking about when he texted us?
Yeah, he said Snelling's clearly twisting the story for his own benefit.
Oh, man. For those of you who don't remember, I was talking about making fun of my friend Eric and going to the balancing and composure show because he couldn't remember it. And he's
Why can't you talk? Balancing and composure?
Yeah.
God.
Snelling just clearly changed the story.
How often do you do that?
It depends. But I didn't change the story. That's how it happened. I don't know what he's saying isn't true.
Maybe you were just accentuating certain moments.
I mean, I really don't do it that often.
Yeah.
But but at the same time though, I do like to say things just for a reaction and just to be funny.
Of course.
But that was a real story, so that wasn't the case thing.
Of course. All right, so let's get into some music. The music was slow this week in terms of topics.
It was slow, but you changed the topic like 3 times this week.
Well, because I mean, I was reaching for the first 2 to begin with. I mean, we could talk about this 9 Inch Nails EP, but at the end of the day, it's a band that's been around for forever.
I gave you the idea of talking about the demise of SoundCloud. And then the rise of SoundCloud. You didn't want to talk about that.
Yeah, this was a much bigger story. This was something that's pretty much been talked about a lot for the past week. So Tyler, the Creator, has a new album coming out. I believe it actually comes out next week, and I forgot what the name of it is. It's something Flower Boy. Fuck Boy, Flower Boy, something like that. Anyways, regardless.
Scum. Oh, the name of it? Scum Fuck Flower Boy.
Jinx, you have to suck my dick. Anyways, he's got this new album coming out, and he's dropped 2 singles on it. First of all, what do you know about Tyler the Creator? Do you know anything about him at all?
Goblin. He gets no props on it. It sucks so much. I get blowjobs from it.
What is that? What did you just do? Were you just trying to freestyle, or are you recalling lyrics from an actual song?
It's from song by Hobson.
Did you just write poetry?
No, it's Hobson. It's a rapper, Hobson. He ate the cockroach in that video.
Yeah, he did.
And I don't like looking at him.
Do you like that song?
No. I've never cared for anything that he's ever done.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't care.
What do you know about him as an individual?
Nothing.
He has a pretty...
Was he on Ridiculousness once?
Interesting persona. He used to have a show on
Adult Swim
called Loiter Squad. And the head of Odd Future, the hip-hop collective, which brought us acts like Frank Ocean. Frank Ocean was a member of Odd Future, also Earl Sweatshirt and a bunch of other people. Why are you laughing?
Earl Sweatshirt.
Why are you laughing?
Is he cousins with French Montana?
No, he's not. He's not at all.
What about Casey Veggies?
I don't know where Casey Veggies came from. Dope? The movie Dope?
Yeah, he was referenced in Dope, yeah.
Anyways.
Got a song on there.
Anyways, Odd Future has since disbanded, I guess, but he's always had this interesting persona. He's like I think he's kind of the alternative hip-hop's like darling. He's the guy that sort of came up from the underground and maybe got a lot more notoriety than some of the other alternative hip-hop artists that have been around. He has a lot of shock value about him. Like he was saying the F word, the homosexual slur in music, like way past when people were doing that.
Saying it, yeah.
It was like, where did this really come from? But he is a smart guy, and I've never really cared for his music that much, but I did enjoy his most recent single he dropped.
Patrick Cucci's gonna come after you.
Yeah, I mean that's just personal taste more than anything. But I did enjoy the most recent single that he had that came out. But the reason that he kind of came up in the news is a lot of people are talking. His album leaked on Monday, and I haven't heard it, but a lot of people are talking about the lyrical content on this thing. And I sent you a video that Anthony Fantano did, but apparently, allegedly, he has a lot of lyrics referencing the fact that he is essentially coming out of the closet as a homosexual, as gay, or maybe even bi. And for whatever reason, I guess people are deciding that this is news that's worth like talking about. What is your take on that in general? Just the music press, the music community deciding to run with this story, like Tyler the Creator maybe comes out as bisexual or homosexual.
Isn't Frank Ocean openly gay?
Yeah, Frank Ocean came out as well.
Okay, so did this happen when he came out?
No, this is happening now. Like
what I'm
Monday.
saying, the way that people are reacting to Tyler the Creator, did they react that way to Frank Ocean?
There was a lot of discussion around it. It was a very big thing because, I mean, look, let's just put it out there. If you've never seen us or heard our content before, Ryan and I, we're not black and we're not gay. So we have no real context of either of those, communities. But homosexuality in hip hop has been an interesting sort of thing to look at, I think, for a while. Atlanta did the episode. Donald Glover had the episode of Atlanta where they kind of touched on homosexuality in the black community, and I think it's always an interesting discussion, I think, to look at. But yes, there was some discussion about this with Frank Ocean when he came out.
So having a homosexual artist is not new,
right?
Particularly recently, we've had another hip hop artist come out as gay. this is a nothing story.
Right.
I mean, it's fine if you want to report on it, like, oh, like a how about that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because people are going to have that reaction when they listen to the song, like, oh, interesting. He's gay. This is nothing.
Right.
Or at least it should be nothing. Mainly because, particularly with the genre of hip hop in general, I can think of far more interesting stories or accounts to write about in hip hop. Anytime someone references killing someone, robbing someone, taking this drug, as far as having like, I think all of these articles are sort of just kind of questioning this. They're trying to exploiting it in a way. They're judging it in a way. They're really examining the lyrics and things like that. And it's like, wow, I can think of so many songs and so many other artists where we can actually do this deep dive and actually analyze and try to get to the bottom of the situation. Because I think it even got to the point where they were like referencing like someone's name that he references, like some man's name, right? And it's like, oh, well, who's this guy?
Well, I think
it's nothing.
I think the greater conversation is, do we need to decipher people's lyrics to figure out whether or not someone is, what their sexuality is, what their sexual preferences are? I mean, I think more than anything, I think why people are so focused on Tyler, the Creator, is because in the past he has been heavily criticized for his use of, homophobic slurs in his songs, despite the fact that he and Frank Ocean are really close. They're really, really good friends. And I think now a lot of people who are probably pointing the finger, a lot of people in the LGBTQ community pointing the finger saying, you can't do this or you shouldn't do this, now are at a loss because, well, wait, so you are a part of our community? You aren't a part of our community? I think the video that Anthony Fantano did was sort of exploring that, like, why are you making it such a big deal? Why do we have to have these think pieces about it? Why are we making any?
Yeah, because one of them was like, what does Tyler, the Creator, coming out? How do we deal with this?
Right.
It's like, you fucking don't.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I have friends and people I've known in my life that I remember I was working at a bank in college, and somebody that I worked with came out to me and he said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm gay." And I said, "Okay." And he was like, "Well, that's it." I said, "Yeah, I don't care. It's cool with me. It doesn't really affect me at all."
Right.
But I appreciate you for, feeling comfortable enough to tell me. But it's kind of like, it's sort of like objectifying somebody's life and somebody's personal preference and choices. I just think that, look, we're in a community, right? Or not a community. We're at a time right now where media is so much about clickbait and having to, we have a podcast about having discussions about certain things, but I think when we're having these discussions about people's lives and stuff like that, and their choices and decisions that they make, it's sort of crossing a weird line that I just don't like. That's not pop culture anymore. It's just not. When Kanye West had his breakdown, or even when he talked about taking Lexapro in a song, people wanted to sit down and talk about, well, what sort of mental health issues does Kanye West have? It's like, who cares? Like, who cares what he has? Let's just examine the lyrics or the content itself. So I don't know. I don't really know where to go with the conversation itself, but how do you think the hip hop community deals with stuff like this? Because again, like I said, we're both white. Neither of us are gay. We're both straight males, as far as I know. How do you think the community deals with stuff like this? Because there aren't a lot of openly gay rappers and hip hop artists.
Well, I don't know that they do.
Right.
They might have to now.
Yeah.
If it gets kind of out of hand, it continues to be a thing.
Just a little bit of context. There was earlier this year, I Love McConan, who is an artist. I think he did he do the song "Going Up in the Club on a Tuesday," whatever that song is?
I don't know.
He's gay, and I think Migos, somebody from Migos, maybe Quavo or whatever, had some really shitty things to say about that situation. So, again, it's
I mean, there might always be that. I mean, there might always be one person, but overall, I don't think they have to do anything unless it gets out of hand. And then I think they will respond by obviously supporting him,
right,
and kind of starting to shut this down.
Mm-hmm.
And that might actually be what has to happen, because if Kanye came out and was outspoken about it, then they could focus on Kanye, and then the focus would go away from Tyler the Creator.
Absolutely.
Then I mean, it should just be about the music. Like, they should just be focusing more on the music, instead of what this may or may not mean. Because I'm over this. I kind of feel like we're past this point where we act like we should care about this type of thing.
I agree.
It's in so many other places in pop culture.
Yeah.
Tonight we're about to watch a show that involves incest.
That's true.
I mean, it's like we're past it, but we're not.
Well, I think more than anything, for at least from me, from like a
I'm not saying that I mean, incest is weird.
You have to preface that,
because I'm like, what? I don't
want to judge anybody that participates in incest.
What I'm saying is there should be no shock value to this. I didn't mean to equate incest with homosexuality.
Just sexual proclivities in general.
Right.
Yeah. No, I'm trying to remember back when Frank Ocean came out, and it was like a part of the discussion at that time. I think one, from a critical perspective and from somebody who is just obsessed with music and likes breaking it down and diving deeper, I remember when Frank Ocean did come out, being able to have a different perspective on the music itself, his lyrical content. And I think for him, I mean, I can't speak for him, but at least on Blonde, well, Channel Orange as well, but Channel Orange and Blonde, you look at the lyrical content of those albums and you see it from a different perspective, or maybe he feels a little bit more honest. He's able to be he doesn't have to, maybe I'm not a huge fan of Tyler the Creator, but maybe some of the stuff that he's written about in the past, he's had to be a little bit more calculated. He couldn't say everything that he wanted. He had to be a little bit more.
But he'll say the F word.
Well, definitely say that word, yeah. But like, maybe he'll just be a little bit more free to say whatever he wants and talk about whatever he wants. He doesn't have to be so cryptic in the things that he says. Could you even imagine that, like being a songwriter and having to dance around certain issues just because of what other people would think?
Right.
I mean, that'd be tough, especially when you're being creative. Like, that's supposed to be the spot where you're supposed to be the most vulnerable.
Yeah, it's like everyone and people are taking it away from you indirectly. It's gotta suck.
Absolutely. But that's all I've got for the segment. If people see these stories and they get into these conversations with people about it, like, I mean, I just don't think it's a conversation people just need to have. Like, I just don't.
Before we move away from music, I want to talk about something that just got brought up in our Sight and Sound Facebook group, which if you're not a part of it yet, please follow the link in our description. You can join us for a lot of discussion involving music, movies, and TV. How do you feel about the realization that I just don't know shit about older music?
You know what? I'm actually glad you're bringing this up. I think it's fine. I think it's 100% fine.
I mean, I don't care.
I actually get this question a lot from people. People have asked me before, oh, how come you don't talk as much about older music? And I talked about it in that Facebook post. One, I'm not as knowledgeable about older music. I've just never been into classic eras of music. There are artists that I do enjoy 100%. But two, I think that right now we have a problem with people not actively discovering and listening to newer music. The go-to thing is, well, it's just not very good. Well, that's not true. Have you listened to fucking everything? Because there's a lot of stuff. How hard are you looking? And these are the types of discussions we have on Sight and Sound Music, but I posed that question before. In fact, there's an episode that's titled, Why Aren't We Listening to New Music? Go there to hear my discussion about that.
Yeah, essentially, just to give you all context, someone asked us in the group how we feel about older music, and I was like, "Look, I have no interest in it. For me, it's music is much more of its time, is how I worded it. Whereas, like, I can look at a movie from the '70s and not necessarily be bothered by that aspect of it, but when I hear older music, it's like, okay, that worked then,
Well,
but I don't get it or understand it now.
Also, for the podcast, what's said about older music has already been said. Like, what are we going to provide to the conversation?
It's I took a history of rock and roll class in high school, so I kind of know the like where it goes. Like this led to this led to this. But as far as like caring, enjoying, and knowing artists and all their albums and songs, like I have very limited musical knowledge when it comes to anything like predating the '90s.
Right.
Seriously, like for me, music starts at Linkin Park. It's just how I was raised. I mean, growing up, my mom listened to Cher and Shania Twain and Garth Brooks.
Well,
my dad listened to Bon Jovi and was an Elvis Presley fan, and that was it.
Right. The funny thing about that conversation where Kevin sort of jumped in and was talking about, he was like, "Well, I was born in '83. I was born in '87. That's not that far apart."
Right.
Like, and this isn't towards Kevin by any means, but anybody out there, and this isn't towards everybody we had a conversation with in that post was a great conversation. Nothing was negative at all, but there are people out there that I know try to make excuses for not listening to new music, and it's just not, all they are excuses. The reason why people have in my opinion, the reason why people don't take to new music like they did older music is purely because of how it's distributed. This is the first era we've ever had where people aren't absolutely beating you over the fucking head and force feeding you music via the radio. It just doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
I mean, radio stations literally would play the exact same songs, and yes, I'm sure they were really good. Classic rock music is great and all that stuff, but they were force feeding you music. Now you actually have to get up off your ass and look for it.
Right.
So that's always been my theory.
I might have said this on the podcast before, but I've had some weird instances. I found myself shocked when I hear people like ask what Spotify is and ask, like I was listening to a podcast today and one of the hosts was like, "Yeah, so I just recently subscribed to Spotify." And I was like, "What? Why didn't you do that years ago?" Why'd you look like that?
That's shitty. It sucks. Who said that?
It's just so bizarre.
Who said that? Out them.
I think her name's Kristen on Watch and Talk.
Okay. Come on, let's get on that.
Yeah, I just thought it was so weird. It's like, wow. Just now? Okay. Whatever. Hopefully they were listening to Apple Music and then they changed to Spotify.
Yeah. I mean, if discussions like this, if you enjoy that, then check out the Sight and Sound Music episode, because that's where we can sort of dive deep on the psychological aspects of music. And Ryan Snelling doesn't spend enough time with music, and neither do a lot of people. It's not his problem. It's a lot of people's problems.
I just have no interest in going back.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about new stuff too.
No, I'm just saying that.
I know.
I'm just stating.
I know. I love you.
I'm going to pee.
All right, I got to pee
take a
too.
break.
I might go to Kroger to get some Advil. I have a headache.
All right,
bye.
Let's go.
There is a ton of content over on the Sight and Sound YouTube page. Obviously, you can listen to us talk via podcast form, but we've got you covered with a ton of other content as well. I'm doing album reviews and music discussion. Ryan is doing movie stuff. We're doing TV stuff. We're doing vlogs, a bunch of shenanigans over on the Sight and Sound YouTube page. All you got to do is go to YouTube, search for Sight and Sound, subscribe to our channel, or you can click in the link in the description box of this podcast and subscribe to us. It's good times. Watch our faces, listen to stuff. YouTube is the place to be.
What are your thoughts on chewing gum during a podcast?
On actually chewing it, as long as you can't hear it, I don't really care what you do.
Don't let me chew into the mic. I've got it in my mouth, but I'm not going to chew it.
Okay.
As far as I know, anyway.
All right. Who are you? Justin Thoreau?
What?
He's addicted to Nicorette gum. Do you know that?
Yeah, but how does that fit my...
Because he was chewing gum when he went on Conan O'Brien.
Oh, that's right. Because he was the first guest to ever come out with gum. I do remember that.
Because he's addicted to Nicorette gum.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
What is this, after party?
You should get him that vape there.
I should. You can't vape on... You can chew the gum on Conan, but you can't vape on Conan.
How would you feel about Kevin Garvey if he was addicted to vape instead of cigarettes? Doesn't have that classic feel.
It'd just be a thing, just like me vaping. It's just a thing.
Justin Thoreau, Iron Man 2, Marvel. D23 was this past weekend, Jay.
I was kind of giving you an opening there for Emmys too, but just saying.
TV is our last topic.
Okay, that's cool. Whatever.
We talked about that earlier.
Did we?
The order of the show? What the hell's the matter
You're
with
right.
you?
We talked about it.
We went to go get you some headache medicine. I think are you suffering from a fever as well? Are you?
No, I'm good now.
Okay.
It's that simple. Pop a few pills and you're good. We went to go
true.
get you foggy medicine, which was AKA food.
I got a Cliff Bar and some peppermint gum. That's why I'm chewing
Some
gum.
fish tacos.
Let's
some uncooked green beans.
let's talk about some D23 stuff, Jake. It's a whole bunch of stuff.
You want
a whole bunch?
You want the D?
Yeah,
You want?
I do want the D.
I'll give you the D.
Disney is great. There are certain people that are gonna probably freak out about Pixar in our comment section. I'm not that well versed with Pixar. Did you know that? Are you?
You had mentioned that, which sort of surprised me. Yeah, I've seen a lot of Pixar movies. I've seen every Toy Story. I've seen A Bug's Life.
Same.
I've seen the robot one. I've seen
Wall-E.
I've seen Wall-E. I've seen Up. I've seen, what am I missing? I haven't seen any Cars.
Have you seen Inside Out?
I haven't seen Inside Out. I've seen Incredibles.
Have you seen The Good Dinosaur?
No, I didn't even know what that was. I haven't seen Brave.
Moana?
I've seen Moana, but that's not Pixar.
You have seen Moana?
I have seen Moana.
Wow.
Yeah, you like that? In fact,
Interesting.
here's a little thing about...
When did that happen?
Here's a little thing about... Okay, this is a good topic. So, Kayla one day really was in the mood to watch something just lighthearted, and I vetoed Moana. So we went to bed, and she laid in bed and watched it. And I just thought, while I was falling asleep, I just thought the songs were delightful. And anyways,
They're nice.
she watched it again, like a month later.
Yeah.
And I was in my office doing some other shit, and she wanted me to come in and watch one scene with a giant crab, and the crab was, what's his name from Legion? What's his name? The New Zealand guy?
Jermaine
Clement. Yeah, was the crab, which was
Wow.
great. So anyways, she finally said, "Will you please just watch this movie from front to back?" It's great. Not only is it great, it is so action-packed and beautiful and fucking gorgeous. That is a great animated movie.
That Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah. So Zootopia.
Oozing with charisma.
Zootopia was the last great animated movie I've seen. Moana, greater than Zootopia.
Greater than great.
Way better.
We should probably I could probably throw out day one in a nutshell, and we can just kind of talk about whatever we want to talk about, and then I'll throw out day two of D23. We can it'll be like a word vomit here. So we have pretty much like trailers / announcements coming from Coco, the upcoming Day of the Dead movie, Frozen 2, Toy Story 4, Incredibles 2, Wreck-It Ralph 2. I think
A lot of sequels.
Yeah, a lot of sequels, except Coco. I think the one that I'm probably most excited for is Wreck-It Ralph 2, and there's a couple reasons. First off, I have not seen the first Wreck-It Ralph.
Really? I've seen it.
Really?
Yeah, the heat meter on Wreck-It Ralph 2, below lukewarm. I did not like that movie at all.
You didn't like the first Wreck-It Ralph?
I did not care for it. I thought it was fun cameos in the same way that like Lego Movie or Lego Batman.
But not as good?
I just didn't think it was good at all. You know who loves Wreck-It Ralph? Kanye West loves Wreck-It Ralph.
I'm glad.
Just saying.
How do you know that? Does he talk about it?
I pay attention.
Does he say it in that Mother Light Beam or whatever?
No, Ultralight Beam, Mother Love Boy. He often speaks in movie quotes. Like for a while he was on The Dark Knight.
I should love Kanye.
He was on The Dark Knight talking about Christopher Nolan and all that shit. And but yeah, for a while he was talking about Wreck-It Ralph, how he was the glitch in the system, and then he referenced Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh. Anyway.
Shout out Kanye West.
I think the thing I'm most excited about for Wreck-It Ralph 2 is because they're involving so much like the Lego movie, they're involving so many more Disney/Marvel Star Wars characters into the story.
Yeah.
And so from what I heard, like there's a scene that involves all of the Disney princesses with all of the original voices. I think that sounds really, really fun to me. The only reason why that trumps everything else, like Incredibles 2, which is probably the mass majority's favorite thing. I haven't seen The Incredibles.
Here's the thing about Incredibles. First of all, shout out.
Did you just gloss over that fact? Because Kevin Marks is going to light me up.
Well,
I have never seen The Incredibles.
You ready to get into it? I have two things about The Incredibles. Actually, three. First, number one, shout out Brad Bird. Two, I've only seen The Incredibles once. And it was my senior year spring break, which might have been one of the worst vacations I've ever taken in my life.
Is that the one with the girl that was your friend and the family?
No, I went with Michael, who I do In the Galaxy with, and John. And we...
that sounds like a hoot.
They claim that I offended Michael's uncle, who was in a wheelchair, because I put his shopping bag on the top of his car and he couldn't get to it.
Oh.
And I said, how can I offend somebody in a wheelchair when my family owns a company that works with paraplegics and quadriplegics on a regular basis? They still do not let me live that down. The other terrible thing about that trip.
And the three of you watched The Incredibles together?
The other terrible thing about that trip. Have you ever been with a group of people and there's a very limited amount of females there? So sometimes the least attractive one becomes the one that's the hottest. Have you ever been in that situation before?
I don't know. I don't think so.
There was a girl there who I was trying to, get with. And
hell yes.
And when we got back from the trip, I said, I've made a terrible mistake.
Bees.
I thought, oh my God, this is hilarious to me. I'm sorry.
D23.
I didn't think The Incredibles was that great the only time I've seen it, but I need to rewatch it. So it confuses me why people are like, The Incredibles is clearly the greatest Pixar movie of all time.
It's the best Fantastic Four movie that exists. Great. Great.
The bar is so low.
I'm not hating on The Incredibles.
I'm not either.
I'm just saying that's how I'm factoring in my judgment. And again, I guess I haven't seen Wreck-It Ralph 2, but that hook that I explained with Wreck-It Ralph 2, that's more than I know about both Incredibles movies. Fair enough. Toy Story 4. Toy Story is my favorite Pixar movie. I grew up watching Toy Story.
Toy Story 1?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that trilogy. I think it's perfect to add the fourth. I'm not angry about it. I don't care that they're making a fourth one.
Do we need a fourth?
But I don't know if I need it.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm just kind of like, well, I will see it when I see it. Frozen 2, I think Frozen is arguably the most overrated Disney animation film to come out in the past few years.
Way better than Frozen.
10
million
I don't
years
understand.
better than Frozen.
I mean, it's fine. It's fine because they're all good, okay? Like Disney cranks out nothing but good,
right.
But Frozen I think is overrated. So I don't care about Frozen 2 really at all. Coco, because it's new, because I don't involve myself with these animated pictures that much at all, I'm just not going to be excited for it, no matter what.
I don't really know anything about it, but
it's about
I saw a kid holding a guitar.
A child steals his dead grandfather's guitar or
what is this?
father's.
Kubo and the Two Strings?
He takes his dead family member's guitar and it transports him to the place.
Sounds like Kubo to me.
And it's like a Day of the Dead kind of thing. I mean, I like the fact that it's what Moana did for like Samoan culture, Pacific Islander culture. I think that
Samoan. It was Hawaiian.
it's Pacific Islander culture.
Okay.
What Moana did there, I think Coco is going to do for Latinos. I think that's pretty cool. But I'm as excited for Coco as I've been for any other Pixar movie that has come out or Disney animation movie come out. So I don't know.
They're also not for us specifically.
There's more of. I have nothing against them. I'm lazy. I don't watch them. I let them pass me by. The Hook with Wreck-It Ralph 2 is why I'm most excited about it. So how do you? I think the big story out of Toy Story 4 is that they changed directors. I have nothing to say about that because
I didn't even know who was directing it to begin with.
John Lasseter, who directed the first one. I've never, other than Brad Bird, I could probably tell you 0 animation directors. It's just not something that's in my consciousness.
Lord and Miller.
Yeah, but they didn't. Well, yeah, they did with Cloudy and the Chains of Meatballs. Yeah.
So Lego Movie not considered animated?
My point is that they didn't start there.
Oh, okay.
Like I know Lord and Miller because they were doing other things, and the same reason why I know Brad Bird.
What's that guy that does Star Wars Rebels?
Dave Filoni?
That guy.
He's never done a feature.
I'm just saying. I know who. I know who he is.
Yeah. Right on. So that's about it. There's not a whole lot I can say about it. I mean, fine. I'm glad they have the director for Toy Story 4. I appreciate the fact that so many people are waiting for Incredibles 2, and now we're finally going to get it. That's pretty much all I got. Do you have anything to say about any of those topics?
Not really.
Let's talk about the A Wrinkle in Time trailer.
Okay, let's talk about it.
We sat here and watched it yesterday.
Looks trippy as hell.
It's pretty much when it premiered. I'm very, very intrigued by it. I love seeing Bay in it. Bay is Chris Pine. Great. One of the most underrated actors of our time. People, when he came out in Wonder Woman, people were like, oh, Chris Pine, really good. Oh, yeah?
Just now figuring that out?
Just now figuring it out? Well, he was pretty good in Star Trek. Well, he's done a lot more than just from Star Trek to Wonder Woman.
Well, first of all,
Jesus Christ.
He was great in Star Trek.
He can do anything. He is hilarious. He's funny as shit in Stretch. He's funny as shit in the Wet Hot American Summer TV series that came out on Netflix.
Just take it easy.
He's extremely versatile. And I'll be damned. Sorry.
Just calm down.
The Wrinkle in Time trailer, I'm very, very intrigued. Did you read the book growing up? I didn't read the book growing up. I don't know anything about it.
I think maybe. I don't know. There was another time travel book that I feel like I started reading and didn't finish, but I don't know if it was that one or a different one.
I know so little about A Wrinkle in Time that, like, prior to my knowledge of it becoming a film by Disney, I wouldn't have known if it was a children's novel or an adult novel.
Yeah.
By J.D. Salinger or something like that. Like, I didn't know the difference like a few months back. So I know so little about it. Ava DuVernay's obviously an incredible director. But it does look a little Alice in Wonderland-y to me.
It looks a little over the top. There are things about it that I really, really like. I like how psychedelic it looks. I like it. It just looks very, very trippy.
I like the cast.
There's a lot of cool stuff going on. Love the director. Love the cast. All that's great. But it just looked a little bit over the top to me. Like, I don't know. It might just be because movies like that have bitten me in the past. It's like all style, no substance.
Well, I don't know if that's what my fear is. I think there will be plenty of substance because of Disney, because of Ava DuVernay. That last shot when they were in the cul-de-sac, that shot makes it seem like it's supposed to look that way.
Right.
Whereas if like I'm analyzing any other shot, there's a clear distance between what the character looks like and the backdrop. Like it looks like an obvious green screened in type of an effect. I think that X-Men Apocalypse had some of those shots that were just insanely glossy. They're in the trailers. I've always had a problem with those because they just look distant from each other between the foreground and the background.
I'll tell you another thing this reminded me of real quick, and I think this is why it's giving me so much anxiety. Is what was the movie with Tom Hanks and Halle Berry where they
Cloud Atlas?
You know how it looks like you can't really tell what's going on. Like you can't really gather much of a plot from that trailer at all.
Yeah.
Looked an awful lot like Cloud Atlas.
That doesn't bother me.
It bothers me because
this is an early teaser.
But I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it brought me back to sitting through that doo-doo movie.
Okay.
Just scares me.
It's a weird take.
Those hairstyles? No,
right.
No, thank you.
I'm just worried that it has an aspect of Tim Burton whimsy to it.
Yeah.
Because you know I hate whimsy, Jay.
You can't not be whimsy with Oprah sitting there with that hairstyle.
I hate whimsy.
Did Oprah's hair look whimsical?
She looked like she was from District 12 in the Hunger Games.
Is that whimsical to you?
Hunger Games? No.
I mean, that aesthetic, the look.
I mean, you could call the costume whimsical, but
yeah.
The tone is what's...
I feel like whimsical is sometimes how you move. Like if you're... I mean, you guys can't do this, but if you're like this...
You're just wiggling around.
You're whimsical. If you look like one of those little slippery toys that you can't hold on to, if that's how your body moves... If your body moves like one of those wacky inflatable tube men,
right?
Then
is that
you're
whimsical?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna throw out everything else, or these next three topics. We got Mary Poppins Returns trailer, Aladdin cast announcement, and Lion King tease.
Don't care about Mary Poppins at all.
Me neither.
Don't give a shit.
I love Emily Blunt.
Unless I see penguins dancing, animated penguins dancing. That's the only thing I care about.
You will. Mary Poppins will come and go the same way that like Into the Woods came and went for me.
Aladdin is a funny one because Aladdin might be my second favorite Disney animated movie ever. I love Aladdin. I absolutely adore Aladdin.
Yeah.
So I do hold it very close to my chest. With that being said,
you hold it close to your chest.
Yeah, like I'm hugging it, like it's mine. It belongs to me.
Close to your heart. Yeah.
And the action in that movie, in the animated movie, is palpable. It's Senator Palpatine. And
yeah.
I don't mind the news of Guy Ritchie being the director for this film.
Ugh, gross.
Because here's the thing. The things that I think Guy Ritchie does well, I think actually play to some of the strengths of what Aladdin can be. Aladdin is a very fast-talking movie. I mean, you think about Robin Williams. You think about the bird, whatever his name is. You think about
Iago.
You think about whoever Aladdin himself was very fast-talking. And I'm always reminded of Snatch and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, just how good the dialogue was in those movies and how great he is at making really high intensity action. I mean, yes, he is another person who is overtly stylized, but maybe just because it is a Disney film, they'll sort of put the reins on him a little bit.
I don't know if Guy Ritchie is that kind of director. I don't know if he's the kind of director that should, going back to like Lord and Miller, I don't know if Guy Ritchie is the kind of person that should be told to make a Disney film. If he wants to make his own movies, I can appreciate that. I understand it. There are a couple of his movies that I like, but overall, he's not a director that excites me. I thought The Man from U.N.C.L.E. was kind of underwhelming. I didn't give a shit about seeing
King Arthur. You know what's funny though?
He's just not. He's one of those really, really popular, famous directors that just do absolutely nothing for me for the most part. And I actually don't agree with you. I don't really see a whole lot of connection between everything else that he's done with Aladdin. I just really don't. He's very British. And I don't mean just him. I mean, he makes British movies. He makes movies about British gangsters. And
right.
I just don't see the connection. I mean, yes, there's one fast-talking character. But that's up to Will Smith. It's not up to Guy Ritchie. So
Right, absolutely. No, you're right. I mean, I think you can go in either direction, arguing for or against, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. The thing about Guy Ritchie directing this movie that I feel more comfortable about it with, or the aspect that makes me feel more comfortable about it, is he was on Joe Rogan. You listened to that episode, didn't you?
yes.
And we don't get to see movie directors in positions like that where they're literally talking for 2 hours.
Not often.
And it sort of humanized him, I think, gave him a little bit more of humanity, and you got to dive into his psyche a little bit. And this was a guy who was actually very, very aware that his movies aren't completely beloved. Not only are they not completely beloved, but he was pretty honest about how fearful he was of King Arthur not doing that great. I mean, he talked about it on that podcast. He did bring up Aladdin and talked about how it was for his kids. This was going to be a movie, that his kids could go see and enjoy themselves at. And I think just with that sort of casting a shadow over him, that maybe he's going to be more in tune with doing the movie justice as opposed to putting his stamp on something like that.
Yeah. What do you think about the cast? Because it was like a week ago when all that buzz came up that they didn't know how to cast this movie. They were having issues.
I would have loved to have seen Riz Ahmed as Aladdin.
A week later, they announced the cast.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering where that came from.
Maybe
that might have been the case maybe a few months ago.
Maybe they're just playing stupid with it. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what happened there. But we got their announcement. They've definitely brought in a no name for Aladdin. I just looked him up. I don't know. I looked up his IMDb. I don't know who he is. I'm fine with that. That's exciting to me. I like the idea of that. Going back to Daisy Ridley in The Force Awakens. And then Naomi Scott is playing Jasmine, which I found interesting because I know she's brown, but I don't know if she's Arabic, and maybe I should look that up. So I think people are kind of disappointed with that, because they think that they had a missed opportunity there. But overall, I dig it, and I'm liking Will Smith as the genie. I mean, It makes a lot of sense.
Who else would you have liked to have seen play?
Bill Hader.
Okay.
Someone with a ton of energy, someone with a ton of charisma, someone that can do a lot of voices and impressions. Someone like Bill Hader kind of fit the bill for me, and even more so than say Will Smith. But right. I actually don't have a problem with that at all. I can already see how that's going to go. So I have no issue with it.
I would have liked to have seen somebody like a Kevin Hart maybe play the genie as well. Just because of how
someone like Kevin Hart,
electric
I
he
get
is.
it. Yeah. But he's done voice work before, and there's a little bit of annoying to his voice.
100%.
And he plays that up. He knows how to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want the genie to be like that, but I get what you're saying. The energy, someone like Kevin Hart, absolutely, I get it. I do support this movie. I don't have a problem with them kind of remaking these Disney movies. I really don't. As long as they don't replace everything else that Disney is making, which I don't think that's the case right now. But
I would love to see some of them turned into franchises.
I just want a different director.
We've talked about that before, but I would love to see them not just recreate what we've already seen, but give. And we talked about it on, I don't remember what other, maybe Beauty and the Beast, but I would just love for, I don't know, how awesome would it be if Aladdin was great and people wanted more?
Then they could do a live action Return of Jafar.
Absolutely.
Which I owned on VHS.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You like that?
And the third one, Aladdin and the King of Thieves.
That was a straight to, were they both straight to DVD?
Yeah.
Or straight to VHS, maybe?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, let's get into of these three that you threw out. Let's get into the headline. The headline, yeah. Do you know how excited I am for this movie, especially after the reactions came out? I mean, we watched here in my office. We watched the Collider and Schmoes Know reactions to these. I was talking to Kayla about this last night. what is your take on the Lion King soundtrack?
It's incredible.
Okay, let me stop you right there. I agree. It's amazing. Elton John doing a lot of those original songs. Think now that we are going to get this soundtrack and we are going to get a duet with Beyonce and Donald fucking Glover. Do you know how?
Is Beyonce actually Nala?
I thought that was the report.
I think that's a rumor. Did
I
they
thought
announce
that was a report. I thought I heard them talk about that on Movie Talk.
I think that was just a joke.
Okay, even if she's not a part of it, let me just say how awesome it is.
She might play.
Let me just say how awesome it is that Donald Glover is going to be singing so many of these songs. That is great. Not only is he singing some of these songs, he could probably do he could sing for everybody if he wanted to. Like Seth Rogen, I want to see Seth Rogen sing. If you listen to Me and Your Mama, he does so many different voices on that album.
What about John Oliver singing? Because John Oliver is playing Zazu.
That's so cool to me.
It is cool.
That is awesome.
Yeah. All around, this cast is really fun and
It's
impressive.
fire.
Hugh Jackman is not Scar, by the way. We talked about that yesterday, and it was a rumored report. It's not happening, so I think we're still Scarless. But yeah, overall,
That's kind of
awesome.
scary.
Jon Favreau directing my favorite animated movie of all time.
Yeah.
For a brand new audience. I can get into that. I'm actually more excited to see what he changes.
I still haven't seen Jungle Book.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Never cared much about Jungle Book.
It's not like the original.
Yeah.
It's not like a shot-for-shot remake of the original by any means.
I want the next remake that Jon Favreau does. I want it to be the Robin Hood movie.
With the animals?
Yes. That
Robin Hood.
I love that movie.
I think Robin Hood is dead.
Oh, just in general, the
Like,
property?
Like the idea.
IP?
Same with like King Arthur. I think people are just done with it. No one cares anymore.
Hot take. Kevin Costner, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Best Robin Hood movie. Easily.
I'm glad. Good.
Rest in peace, Severus Snape.
Haven't seen it.
Alan Rickman.
There's not a whole lot more I can say about The Lion King other than I'm just extremely excited. The cast kills it. I can't wait to see what they change. Because I'm of the mindset that I love the first one so much. I have no problem with them remaking it. I am open to a different movie, whether it's minor or major. I really am.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hear that the buzz is that I think they showed the opening number, The Circle of Life, as far as I know. And
What song
it
played,
killed.
though? Was it the Elton John original, maybe?
I don't know, maybe. But this movie doesn't come out until 2019, so I'm kind of shocked that they had footage at all.
Just for fun. So let's say Elton John doesn't do it.
I don't think he is.
Okay. Who does his original songs?
Lin-Manuel Miranda. Because there's no one else.
It's totally not true.
John Mayer.
John fucking Mayer? Are
I'm
you serious?
joking. You know, actually, you know, Dave Matthews. Dave Matthews. Dave Matthews
What
could
the
do.
hell is wrong with
Dave
you?
Matthews could do an interesting Lion King soundtrack.
Where is this coming from?
Because he'd be all about like adding bongos and shit.
Is that it? Is that the level? Is it the level we're operating on?
Gotta be percussive.
I mean, I would like.
What
to
are you just gonna say, Giacchino?
No, I'm throwing one out there that I think is like an underdog pick. It would never happen, but I think it would be perfect for it, and it would be Rag and Bone Man. Are you familiar with Rag and Bone Man?
No, but I have a feeling you're gonna tell me.
It's a big deal. He's the male Adele, in my opinion.
Oh, is that right?
He's great. He's fantastic. Or you just get Adele to do it in general. That would be fun.
Okay. Infinity War.
Never heard of it.
The Last Jedi behind the scenes footage.
The Last Jedi behind the scenes footage was essentially nothing. We got to see some animals. We got to see some interesting things that I think you could probably extrapolate a longer discussion about, but ultimately, we know nothing. I don't think we know much more. We just have more to speculate off of.
I disagree. It is not practically nothing. I think it gives us a much greater insight to the aesthetic. We got first reveals for characters. like Laura Dern and Benicio del Toro. So all the people that are saying Benicio is Ezra or is Thrawn, all those theories can be put to rest because he's just the guy that looks like Benicio del Toro. Laura Dern has purple hair. Quite a bit came out of it. A lot of the animatronics somehow, and this might be a weird statement, but I just continue to be surprised by how fresh all of the creatures look, because you can debate that some of the creatures in The Force Awakens reminded you of some from the original trilogy. Like, yes, they were all new, but nothing really jumped out at me.
Looked familiar.
Yeah, and that might have been the point. But I saw some pretty cool animatronics. That wolf thing, I've never seen like a wolf thing.
The llama with those big old ears?
Yeah. Yeah, it was all really interesting to watch, actually. I mean, it's nothing in the sense that we still know nothing about the movie, except there's a shot of Kelly Marie Tran and John Boyega in disguise again, which they're doing that again. But Rian Johnson's Last Jedi continues to fascinate me in the way that it looks, because we've already talked about it ad nauseum, how different he is, how unique of a choice he is to direct a Star Wars movie. The more and more that I see from this movie and how weird it is, the more I start to question. Like, I think The Last Jedi is going to come out. I think it's going to floor us. And I think my impression of The Force Awakens is going to be lessened.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think The Last Jedi will be so good that even I, a Force Awakens apologist to people who don't care for it or take issue with it, I think I'm going to look at that movie and be like, so what?
I mean, I think
Last Jedi.
I think it sort of depends on how you view the movies in general. I mean, I think The Last Jedi, I think Force Awakens is a really good movie. I think it's a really, really fun movie. It's not, none of the, outside of Empire Strikes Back, none of the Star Wars movies are like actually making me be like, film is changing my life. You know, nothing like that. Now, I don't know, man. Rian Johnson, and obviously it's more down to so many other people. I mean, he wrote this thing as well, so I guess it is a lot down to him, but he has the ability to shift and change expectations of what a Star Wars film can be. And I think the thing that I'm the most scared about is that Colin Trevorrow is the one that's got to get the baton and cross the finish line.
The biggest eye roll of the week for me was him. There was an article where he's like, rest assured, guys, I'm still going to do a good job on Star Wars.
You know who I don't want to say that? Him.
Right.
Let somebody else come out and say that.
Because just that basically means, I think his reasoning was, you don't realize how close Star Wars has been to me in my lifetime. And it's like, okay, so now you're telling me that you weren't that about the Book of Henry? So like, why did you make it? Did you fail because you weren't interested in it? Like, I don't know what that means. That doesn't help inform why I should care more about this.
You know who else Star Wars meant a lot to? George Lucas. And he fucked up 3 of those movies. That means nothing.
I mean, it means something for JJ, but JJ had made movies that informed his love of Star Wars. You know,
Colin Trevorrow saying that is like when you discover a podcast for the first time and you go on iTunes to see what the reviews are, and there's only one, and it's from the people that started the podcast. They're like, "This is great."
Is there anyone out there that Colin Trevorrow is their favorite director?
I don't know.
Does that person exist?
Cobster. Doesn't he love Jurassic World? Here's the funny thing about
I don't know. He likes The Lost World. He's a Lost World.
Real quick about Trevorrow. I thought for a while that you and I were one of the only people that had that take about Jurassic World not being a great movie, not that great of a movie. And now all of a sudden it seems like everybody fucking hates that movie now.
Jurassic World is empty calories.
But
I might get in a mood to watch it, but ultimately I walk away with nothing.
we were watching the Schmoes No Show one day, and somebody brought up Jurassic World, and they were like, "Oh, that piece of trash!" Like collectively, everybody's like, "That piece of trash," and I was like, "Where did that come from?" Like, when did everybody just decide that was the case? I feel like nobody thought that until they realized he was going to direct a Star Wars movie.
The only person that I've heard consistently hate Jurassic World from day one is Dan Murrell. Oh,
really?
my God, he hates
not good.
that movie. Did we really want to skip over Infinity War?
No, are you serious? What the hell is wrong with you?
You're the one that skipped it.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I know.
I said that Star Wars was nothing.
I think that there's so much going on, and the fact that
the story pisses me off.
It fascinates me that it seems like the Russo brothers are just nailing
ridiculous
this busy, this bloated of a film. Like,
that's what we celebrated Civil War for.
They are doing something that no other director seems to have an interest in doing. Like, they are, as far as I'm concerned, maybe going back to the original Avengers, they are sort of defying what a movie is supposed to be.
Right.
And people might roll their eyes at that statement because it's a superhero film, it's a Marvel movie, but that's how I see it. Because if it's anything else, it's impossible.
Yeah.
But they seem to be doing it. It is flooring the actors, all of the actors, specifically Mark Ruffalo, is coming out in shock. Basically, like, I was floored by this. Saw a couple more reactions from Anthony Mackie, a few other people. They were floored. Karen Gillian from Guardians of the Galaxy. People are freaking out already. And it just finished production like last week. It's nuts to me. One of the biggest concerns can be how do you mold all those tones? How do you make the Spider-Man that we saw in Spider-Man Homecoming fit with the Doctor Strange we saw in Doctor Strange? According to this footage that they released, that isn't an issue, and people are just freaking out about all of the images. That Doctor Strange is helping Star-Lord. There's a Spidey sense scene on a bus. Cap and Black Widow are in disguise. This is just insane to me.
Look, we reviewed Marvel Civil War together. Civil War was
Marvel Civil War.
Yeah, because I don't like the Captain America franchise. That's not a real take. That was my movie of the year last year. I love Civil War. I think it's fantastic. And a lot of it was down to the Russo brothers. I heard some people joking that this was like the All-Star game, like the NBA All-Star game. It was just a bunch of people, being flashy and trying to show off to the crowd. And I think that's the easy way out, but I have so much confidence that the Russo brothers are going to be able to pump a good film out of this. And you're right. This has never been done before. It is insanely ambitious. So much so that I can't fathom how they could pull it off. But with so much overwhelming positivity coming out of it, I mean, I'm pissed because I'm hearing all these people talk about it and I just want to see it.
I think that when this movie comes out, all of Hollywood's directors are going to look at themselves and say, that is not something I could have done.
Yeah.
Like, as far as
tough.
So many directors are probably right now saying, Marvel movie's not really my thing. And that's fine, but I think it's going to go to a place where, like, this will be truly one of a kind. It'll be a feat that's never been attempted before, and they will knock it out of the park and maybe never replicate it again by any other studio or director.
Right. I mean, what do you need from this film? Like, what do you expect and what do you need? I'm not talking about plot points necessarily, but just going into it, expectations for you
personal
to
preference,
enjoy it. Yeah.
If you leave that movie and Thanos is not the best Marvel villain, you have a problem. You've been building up to Thanos for 5 years.
Right.
This is what it all comes down to. Thanos is why everything has happened so far. From Iron Man 1, the plan, not that they had it all planned out, but it's like that's what every movie has been building towards this moment. We have to walk away from Thanos being floored. People have to die. There have to be ultimate stakes, and it has to change the.
You're going specific. That's cool.
It has to change everything. It has to change our. Trying to think what I want to say. Wow, what is your answer to that?
Well, I was just going to say that I need it to feel like a spectacle. I need it to feel like larger than life, something that is going to honestly define what my expectations have always been for a superhero movie. I mean, I just need it to be fucking nuts. I'll relate it to the World Cup. The World Cup comes every 4 years, and it's weird because I used to get, myself and so many other people all over the world get so excited for the World Cup, but it's just another soccer tournament. There's a bunch of soccer tournaments, but every time that it comes on, as a soccer fan, I get enamored with it, and I get enamored with the spectacle, the pageantry, everything that comes along with it. And that's how I want to feel with this movie. Like, we built, like you said, we built up to this for 5 years. It needs to feel like that. I don't just want it to be Avengers 3. I want it to be the culmination of everything that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has promised us up to this point.
Do you think that we will see this footage? Do you think we will see this trailer, first of all? And two, do you think we'll see it before Thor Ragnarok?
I think we will.
This movie's release date is next May 4th.
I think one of two things are going to happen. I don't think we're going to see it before Thor Ragnarok because, according to reports, the opening shot sort of has consequences that happen from Thor Ragnarok. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, but that's also out in the open now for anyone to find out.
I know, but I think for the rest of, I think it would be confusing to people. I think it would be confusing to a larger audience, more everyday audience, to have this trailer distributed coming off the back of Spider-Man. It's like, why is Spider-Man in space? Wasn't he just in high school a minute ago? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this was attached to like the end credit scene or something like that to Thor Ragnarok.
That could happen. Definitely. That's a good call. I think we'll see something for this movie before that. I don't, like you said, I don't know if it's going to be this, but I think we're going to see something about this movie. Maybe even the title release.
You thinking maybe
and a teaser
after or during the week of Comic-Con?
Oh, you think even like next week?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know why they would, because they've pretty much been outspoken that Comic-Con is going to focus mainly on Thor, Ragnarok, and Black Panther.
I'm going to say we get maybe the title release before Thor. If they aren't going to release the title at D23, I don't think they're going to release it at Comic-Con.
This movie comes out next year.
Correct. Right? Yeah. So I think in the fall, we're going to get the first teaser and the title.
It's awful early to get a first teaser for something like that.
Not at all.
I think so.
Batman v Superman trailer, the Justice League. We got a Justice League trailer last summer.
Yeah, but
a year and a half before Justice League came
I feel
out.
like they also don't need to really sell this movie to a bunch of people like they do other movies.
Yeah, but they still want to give it to the fans.
I get that, but I mean,
because they can't do it at next year's Comic-Con.
I mean, you look at Star Wars promotion is very similar. I mean, they don't do a ton of I mean, they do.
I don't know what Star Wars is doing. Give us a fucking new trailer. Jesus Christ.
It comes out in like a few months.
Yeah. Give us a new trailer. When is that going to happen?
Yeah.
My God.
That's what I'm saying. The first thing we got from the only thing we have from Star Wars came out, 2 months ago?
Yeah.
You're going to get this Marvel thing. You're wanting it over a year before.
Star Wars is the outlier.
Exactly.
They're not setting the example.
Should that be the case, though?
I expected, prior to D23, I expected an Infinity War teaser at Comic-Con.
Right.
But I don't know why they would have skipped D23 just to put it out a week later at Comic-Con. Especially when you have so much more that you can do. We still need a Ragnarok trailer. And then, of course, we have Black Panther. Like, there's still some stuff in the way.
Right.
That's why I'm saying it's going to happen after Comic-Con.
Right.
But it needs to happen soon.
What is their slate for next year? Black Panther.
So Black Panther, it's Avengers, and then I believe Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Is next year.
Yeah.
So we'll probably get Ant-Man and Wasp stuff at Comic-Con as well.
Maybe. Yeah, I could see that happening. I think we've gone on long enough. Maybe take a break, and then we'll get into the Emmy noms.
Let's do it. All right, we'll be right back.
So we're trying to take over the internet here at Sight and Sound, not only in podcast form, but also just in video form on YouTube, but it doesn't end there. We're all over social media at Sight Sound Pod on Twitter, on Instagram, facebook.com/SightSoundPod. We're trying to stay active on the social media front. Add us there so that you can stay up to date on all the Sight and Sound goodness via podcast, or Sight and Sound goodness via YouTube channel, or find out about our new merch drops over at sightsoundpod.com. Whatever we're involved in, we are keeping you up to date on social media. Again, that's at SightSoundPod on Twitter and Instagram, facebook.com/SightSoundPod. Yeah, come on, let's get social.
Silly me, I thought that the movie portion would be shorter than the TV discussion.
We had so much to talk about.
We did. But
We might have a lot to talk about now.
let's talk about Emmy noms. Just came out this past week, a couple days ago, from the time that we were recording this. I don't know. Oh, I know. Yeah, I do know what you're doing there. Do you want to get that out of the way?
Let me just say this.
The horse in the room here.
I want to address Sight and Sound and television real quick. I've said this to our listeners before, and I've said it out loud, but it's fascinating to me that you're passionate about movies.
How's it going?
I'm passionate about music, and that's all well and good. But I think for some reason, collectively, some of the best content that we put out is our TV content.
Heyo.
I don't know why that is. I think I love the discussions that we have. If I had to rank, so
it's all about the back and forth.
the funnest podcast
The most fun podcast.
that we do is After Schmo. It's the most.
Are you saying you think After Schmo?
That's the most fun that I have.
You have more fun doing After Schmo than anything Sight and Sound?
That's the most fun that I have.
That's the word I use.
I don't know if it's.
It's the most fun you have.
Yeah, it's the most fun I have. And then the one that I enjoy, like that I feel the most proud of, is probably our TV discussions.
All right, there are I see two common denominators here.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
One being I host typically both. The second thing, it's because it's a communion. It's a sharing of ideals. We've watched the same episodes. We've watched the same episodes of Schmoes Know. Hearing me talk about Amazing Spider-Man and what I thought about Andrew Garfield, or hearing you talking about Tyler, the Creator, they're more one-sided discussions. But this is a communion, Jay. This is what it all comes down to.
I don't think I agree with anything that you said. Regardless,
it's the truth.
For me, the TV discussions, I think you are right about one thing, is that anytime we talk about TV, we're always talking about a show that we are passionate about in some way, shape, or form. Like, even if we're not enjoying it,
# True Detective Season 2.
We're still passionate about the show itself, and we can be passionate about hating it. And I just think, I don't want to get it twisted. Like, obviously, I like doing weekly. I like doing weekly because you never really know where the conversations are going to go. And that's fine. If we just go off talking about my spring break senior year in the middle of the movie discussion, it's fine.
Yeah.
The music show is tough because it's solo, and I never know what people are listening to it for. But the other thing that I want to say about TV before we get into this is you and I have a great track record with the TV shows that we pick, and they've, in the past 2 years, because we've covered TV for, I guess, 2 years now, back when we did Death to DVR, and then now.
Film Beef, too. I don't know if you did TV stuff on Film Beef. The Path. You did a solo Path podcast.
So
Friday Night Live.
We have been vilified in the fact that the shows that we hold in high regard, Mr. Robot, won so many Emmys for the first season. Not showing up in this year, so we'll get to that in a second. Atlanta crushed it. Okay? So you guys pay attention to the things that we say. Master of None, which was very high on my list, kind of cleaned up in nominations. And you went back and watched it, and you loved it.
Yeah.
Pay attention to what we say. We know a thing or two. But one thing that we're not vilified in, what the fuck is up with this fucking Westworld shit? Where the fuck is Leftovers? Let's get into it.
Two things I want to talk about here at the top. Saturday Night Live and Westworld lead the pack. They each have 22 nominations each. HBO leads all the networks with 111 noms. Netflix is second with 91. So, incredible for streaming services. They scored 4 of the 7 best drama noms. Pretty crazy. But it'll be broadcasted by CBS by Stephen Colbert. I'm excited for Colbert, but it's funny that, CBS.
How long before these big live events are no longer held on network and cable TV? I say 3 to 5 years.
I don't know. That's hard. It's hard to gauge. I'm not sure. Because of the demise of the network, now that's something. But just like by choice, they're not going to, they're going to have a greater audience on CBS than they are if it's on FX. So unless the channel.
I meant it being on Netflix or something like that.
Oh, I don't know. It's tricky.
The audience is much wider on Netflix. It's global.
This comes on Sundays. Would you ever skip the Emmys and then after, it's like a sporting event. Unless it's live, it's pointless to go back and watch it because the results are already so public and you're moving on to the next thing.
Of the big award shows, the Emmys are actually the Oscars are my least favorite award show. The Emmys are next in line for my second least favorite, just because, I don't know. I like the Golden Globes a lot because it is a mixture of both, and I can kind of just sit and get everything in one stop shop. I also love to hate the Grammys, but anyways,
in addition to being confused by Westworld, I'm actually kind of confused by Handmaid's Tale.
Really?
Because
why is this?
If I remember it correctly, when it was on, I thought there was backlash. It wasn't so glaringly positive from what I remember.
Backlash, and maybe quality wise or
like people didn't like it. Just people being vocal about the fact that they didn't think it was good.
I don't know if a lot of people watched it.
I'm just now understanding. I think plenty of people watched it.
Kayla watched it
because I read a lot about it, but I don't ever remember it being must watch. Very positive. I remember, and this might be my fault because sometimes I can be guilty of headline reading, not actually reading articles. But from what I remembered, how I remembered it is that it wasn't so cut and dry when it came to the show's quality.
More divisive.
So I'm fine. I want to go back and watch it now.
That's funny you're saying all that because my take on Handmaid's Tale is that it's something that we've missed. It's been like that for the last few months. Yeah. I've also heard that it's an incredibly dense show. It's very, very dark.
Game of Thrones did not get a lot of love at the Golden Globes this year.
People were outraged.
It's now out of the way completely when it comes to the enemies. The enemies. Yeah, the enemies. The Emmys.
Freudian slip.
Because it did not make, right. It didn't make the eligibility time, the deadline. But we have Better Call Saul, The Crown, Handmaid's Tale, House of Cards, Stranger Things, This Is Us, Westworld. I don't get Westworld.
I actually am not. So let me just rehash some overall thoughts of Westworld. I thought some of the acting in the show was fine. I thought that it looked great. I thought that the concept of it was cool. I thought the execution and the writing in general was not bad. I thought it was trash. I thought that show. I think that show should be ashamed of itself. So for specific things, for an acting, for a cinematography, or whatever it is, I can understand getting a nomination. It is a more highbrow type of show, but it wasn't good. It wasn't overall. It was not a good show for me.
The potential was there in
Yes.
terms of, what word do I want? Ambition. In terms of ambition,
The sales pitch, I
Kudos.
was there.
Jurassic Park, but more.
J.J. Abrams, are you serious?
Jonah Nolan.
Are you serious?
I mean, the ambition was there. I think that show is incredibly muted.
this should have worked for us.
I think it's boring. It was a show we were very much anticipating.
it was
it's-
catered to us.
The two elements, in not only is Westworld not the best like Western I've seen on TV, but it's like not the best sci-fi show either. Like it just, I don't think it nails either aspect of it.
Right. I also think it was a show that was designed around inciting fan theories on Reddit and the internet, and that frustrates me.
How can we make the next Game of Thrones?
We're also, I don't want people to get this twisted. Okay, we pay attention to a lot of other outlets. Okay, a lot of other critical outlets, critical podcast discussions, all that stuff. We're not the only people that feel this way. This show was not universally well received. It just wasn't. I mean, you can go online and look up stuff about it. There are a lot of people that enjoyed it, but there's a lot of people that didn't enjoy it as well.
Right. The Crown, I didn't see. Handmaid's Tale, I didn't see. Better Call Saul. It's good. It's well done.
You talking about watching it?
Better Call Saul.
Yeah,
The show.
Yeah,
I mean, I get it.
absolutely. Better Call Saul is incredibly acted, incredibly well written. I personally lost interest. Not a statement on its quality.
This Is Us might be the biggest show on the list without a doubt. Maybe next to Stranger Things. House of Cards. I got off in season 2 because every year more people get off the bandwagon.
Yeah.
Like House of Cards was the prime Netflix show. It was the second show ever created for Netflix, and it continues to just be buried by everything else, and not just because of the amount.
It had bloodline syndrome for me, where I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that." And strange enough,
Stranger Things, Jay.
Strange enough, for whatever reason, this year there was like a collective, "Hey, can't believe you're not watching House of Cards," and I was like, "Really? We're still
doing that?
Still talking about that?"
My pick, based on my interest, I don't think it's going to win at all. My pick would be Stranger Things.
I was also kind of confused why I mean, it feels like it's been forever since that first season, came out, and
Last summer.
I was sort of shocked. Read them back to me again.
Better Call Saul, Crown, Handmaid's Tale, House of Cards, Stranger Things, This Is Us, Westworld.
And this is best drama.
Yeah.
What do I think is going to win?
Yeah.
Better Call Saul.
I think about how much Westworld has been nominated. I think it might come down to like This Is Us and Westworld.
How do we feel if that happens? There's always one show. There's always one show that people get up in arms or it won. The Crown was last year. Everybody was like, "I can't believe The Crown won over," and it's just like, first of all, most people probably didn't watch The Crown.
Right.
Let's just be honest. Like, it's fine.
I want Stranger Things, but I could see it coming down to This Is Us and Westworld, I think.
Just purely based on Stranger Things. I love Stranger Things. I think it's great, but a lot of it is aesthetics, right? I mean, a lot of that with that show is aesthetics. I don't really know what it has going for it in terms of something like this.
Right.
It's not like the story was like mind blowing or anything like that.
Outstanding comedy series. This is kind of a category where I'm looking at it and I think I would just be fine if any of these win because I know that they're all just so good, with the exception of like Silicon Valley. But we have Atlanta, Blackish, Master of None, Modern Family, Silicon Valley, Unbreakable, Kimmy Schmidt, and Veep. Like, that is just a very strong group of shows.
Silicon Valley has no place being nominated. I haven't seen some of these. The battle between Master of None and Atlanta is intriguing, but I think there's no competition here. It has to be Atlanta. There's no doubt about it.
Looking out at standing lead actor series, I see Sterling K. Brown from This Is Us, but also People vs. OJ. I know that was last year, but he's great. Anthony Hopkins, he was boring in Westworld. Bob Odenkirk is always good as Saul Goodman. I think when I read this type of list, Liev Schreiber and Ray Donovan, I'm not saying he doesn't do a good job, but throughout the year, I never hear about either one.
Ray Donovan is one of those shows that people bring up like Monk. It's like, oh yeah, people exist that watch that show.
Yeah.
Like, it's the type of show you throw out as a joke.
I wouldn't mind to check it out and see what it's all about, but
it's like, oh, you watch Ray Donovan?
Throughout the year, I never hear a word about watching the show, about how great Liev Schreiber is, how Ray Donovan is top 5. I mean, I just never hear that type of language, so I'm always surprised by
I feel the same way about Ray Donovan people who watch Ray Donovan as I did about our friend Cody watching Suits. It's just very strange.
I'm also fascinated because in Outstanding Lead Actress and Actor, they both had the leads in The Americans, Kerry Russell and Matthew Rhys, but The Americans isn't nominated. So I found that fascinating because I think it might be the only show that's represented in both lead acting categories.
Did Fargo get
other
any
than
nom?
Westworld?
Fargo? Did he get any?
I don't think it was. I don't know if it was eligible.
Eligible.
Yeah. No, Fargo was in Outstanding Limited. Yes, but not acting.
Were you surprised? No Legion nods at all? I wasn't either.
I'm not surprised.
I thought the only thing that could
Legion is cool whether it's nominated or not. I mean,
there were technical aspects of Legion that I thought could have been nominated: editing, cinematography, stuff like that. But other than that, the only thing I think could have been nominated for Legion was maybe old girl. What's her name? I'm forgetting her name.
Rachel Keller?
No. What? No.
Oh, yeah. Aubrey Plaza?
Aubrey Plaza, yeah. For like half of the season.
She wants to be Catwoman in a Batman movie.
That would be great.
Outstanding Limited Series, I think. Oh, this just got interesting. Big Little Lies, Fargo, Feud, Night Of, Genius. Totally forgot about Night Of being represented.
I said this in our Facebook group that this was the headline fight. This is why you buy the pay-per-view. Like, this is the one that's going to win Fight of the Night. I am so intrigued by Big Little Lies and Night Of going up against one another. Also Fargo, just because I know what that show is capable of.
I could see Feud getting it, though. I actually think... I haven't seen Genius. I think it comes down to Big Little Lies, Feud, and Night Of, and I could see Feud getting it just because people ride high on FX and they ride high on.
What about Timeless? Any love for Timeless in the Emmys?
Oh, I didn't even realize this. It's season 3 of Fargo. I didn't realize that that recent of a show. I just assumed that it was season 2. Interesting, because Ewan McGregor is represented in Outstanding Actor in Limited Series. Okay.
The one
interesting.
The one that you had been watching.
Yeah. It's weird that the Night Of is represented in the same category as season 3 of Fargo.
Right. Again, it came out literally a year ago.
Right.
That's like when
wow.
Just to give context on my end, that was like when Adele won like all these Grammys for an album that came out didn't even come out in the year. Like, it came out at the very end of December of 2015.
Put just because we've seen both of these, put Big Little Lies up against the Night Of. What do you got?
The Night Of pilot is one of the best episodes of television I've ever seen, period. It was incredible. It was gripping. It was so gritty, so raw. But that show kind of petered out a little bit. There are elements of that show that became eventually it started out as a show that I never watched courtroom dramas, courtroom procedurals, or anything like that. And this made me enjoy it. But eventually it fell into the box that it was sort of playing in.
Right.
Big Little Lies was a show that I don't think I or so many people ever should have cared about. But it did things to make me love it.
It's my favorite show so far this year.
I think, even though I think it's a great battle, I actually think there's really no other answer but Big Little Lies.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think technically and artistically The Night Of.
See, I would disagree with that.
Oh.
I think some of the cinematography in Big Little Lies, I mean, that show made the setting and the surrounding a character in the show.
Right. And as far as like the comedy series, I mean, they're never really that different. I mean, Donald Glover stands out because it was the new show, but you still had Blackish represented. You still have Veep represented. I mean, the comedy series category doesn't really seem to change, and at least in the past few years. So that's kind of the same. I think John Oliver is going to get Variety Talk Series again. I don't think there's any way in hell James Corden is represented. Yeah, you sing with people in cars. That's not good enough.
Here's the interesting thing to me is that how much weight do you put on the fact that Atlanta has already cleaned up in other award shows, Golden Globes being one. I think there was some Screen Actors Guild or maybe like a Screenwriters Guild. I don't remember. How much weight do you put into that considering that Veep is typically the show that gets so much love from these award shows?
Well, I haven't really seen Veep, so I can't really speak highly on that, but I love the show Atlanta a lot, but I don't know if I'm confident. I'm not confident saying that those are the best comedic performances.
We're talking about, okay.
Any of them.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised at all if any other comedic performance beats anyone in Atlanta. I'm just not.
That's one thing I will say about Atlanta, as much as I praise that show and I love the show. I don't think I don't think anybody really stood out as being like a great performance on the show. The only one that I can think of is the other friend, not Paperboy, not Donald Glover's character.
Well, he is great in general.
He was fantastic.
He's great in general, but he didn't.
He wasn't in every episode.
If any other character shines aside from Donald Glover's character, is his love interest.
Yeah, Domino.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know. That's about it for the headlining Emmy noms. So The Leftovers.
Look, I mean, I feel way better about it being snubbed this year than I did for season 2. 100%. It did get a nomination. You are leaving out. It did get one nomination
for Ann Dowd,
which is kind of ridiculous. I feel like that's them making up. I feel like that's a Martin Scorsese thing with him winning The Departed. I feel like they're making up for her not being nominated before. I said when we did Leftovers season 2 that I not only did I think that it would be ridiculous if she didn't get nominated, I didn't see any other reason how she couldn't win. I mean, the character that she played in season 2 was incredible. First of all, I guess spoiler alert that she's even in the season 3, but she does nothing. It's kind of silly. It's almost a slap in the face. Like, what would you have wanted Leftovers to be nominated for?
Take
Westworld.
Take Evan Rachel Wood out of lead actress.
Yeah, Carrie Coon.
And put in Carrie Coon.
100%.
100%.
Justin Theroux should be in there somewhere.
Take out either Anthony Hopkins, but not to pick on Westworld. Take out Liev Schreiber and Ray Donovan and put in Justin Theroux.
Yeah. Why do you think, how objectively, as people who called Mr. Robot season 1, who called Atlanta, how can you justify this, even taking off your fan hat, how can you justify this being snubbed?
Andy Greenwald put it that it just came down to...
I haven't listened to their reaction, by the way.
Basically, what he said, it came down to just the general neglect for the show in general, that people don't watch it. How do you explain all of the Crowns nominations? Right.
Or Mr. Robot cleaning up for their season 1. Nobody watched Mr. Robot season 1 when it came out. Nobody watched it to the extent that USA contacted us directly
and sent us free merch
for talking about their show.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous. Can we talk just for a second?
We couldn't even get away with that in Mr. Robot season 2.
Yeah.
Because I tried to maintain my relationship with the show and with USA. Got nothing.
The show exploded.
Got nothing.
I just want to talk for just a second, just because I do think it's a fun discussion.
Okay.
Has it ever happened to where a show has cleaned up for a season 1 and just not been represented at all for season 2? I mean, I'm sure it exists, but that is such a fall from grace. It's not even funny. Like, they couldn't even say, well, we're going to let them be there just to show up.
I mean, Sam Esmail doesn't believe in plot, so.
It's pretty crazy. I think it's hilarious. And it's funny because, again, that's another thing. The Emmy should be ashamed of themselves, because if you're going to nominate fucking Westworld, even for the positive things that I said about it, Mr. Robot did all of that.
That's what kind of makes it a popularity contest.
Mr. Robot did all of that.
It's the strangest popularity contest I've ever seen in my life. You include This Is Us, Stranger Things, Westworld, The Crown?
Right. Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I don't mind things winning if they are the best shows, as long as there's not some wackiness going on. But yeah, look, I said it when we talked about Westworld. Mr. Robot and Westworld had the exact same problems, and they had almost the exact same good things going for it. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's crazy to me. The Emmys.
I'm disappointed.
Are you going to watch live?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's several months away.
We should do a
couple months away. September.
We should do a watch along on Facebook Live.
All right.
Be a good idea. You got anything else?
No.
All right, let's wrap things up. You can find us on social media at SightSoundPod, on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook.com/SightSoundPod. Make sure to go to our Facebook group. Ask to join the group. You will get approved, unless you're some weirdo who your profile picture is like a printout of Ryan and mine's face cut in half and put on you.
Or just like a random picture of Walter White sitting in front of a pool on Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that too. Anyways, go there. There's a link in the description box of either this video, if you're watching on YouTube, or the podcast. Where else can you find us? You can buy our shit. SightSoundPod.com.
We just put up a t-shirt that might get us sued.
That's right, we did. You can buy our stuff. We will have a brand new shirt dropping in August, an exclusive one, the summer one that's up right now. The triangle thing with the background. It's going to go away.
The Illuminati design.
Yeah, with the background. It's going to go away. We're going to have a new one in August.
Oh, I need to go ahead and get mine then.
Yeah, absolutely. You do. You can find me at Jaye Williams, J to the A to the Y to the E, on Twitter and Instagram. It's the same for both. You can catch me doing my music show on Fridays, and my album drops like probably this week. If you're listening
to God,
if you're listening to this right now, it's probably going to be out this week on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal. You can probably listen to it on Pandora. Separator. Look for it. Check it out. Jam it out. And what else do I want to plug? There's something else I wanted to plug. Oh, our Game of Thrones show. If you're watching Game of Thrones, check out our Game of Thrones after show. Ryan, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at WhatUpSnell. Did you post the YouTube channel?
No. I got to leave some things out there for you to talk
Please subscribe to the YouTube channel for our videos and our podcasts. That's all I got. I appreciate you guys so much. Yeah, let's definitely watch Game of Thrones together. We're going to be doing like a water cooler discussion type podcast. Going to be great. No standards at all. We just want to talk about TV like we always do. And we're definitely pumped for that. Hope you guys are too. Thank you so much. And if you listen to us on SK Plus, I think we're going to be moving days. I will have more on that probably next week, but I don't know if we're going to continue to come out on Wednesday. I'm trying to get it to Monday because that's when our podcast is released, but we will let you guys know for sure. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.